know him. Most of you may not know him because he is a very humble, saintly personality. He doesn't promote himself. But more importantly, what we want to do is we want to try and get a peek at his heart and his mind and his intelligence to see what keeps him so spiritually enthusiastic. And he's like a spiritual dynamite. He's very small in physical stature, but his reach. Come on in, Narayani Devi. You can sit on the chair.
Please.
And so I was just introducing Radheshyam Prabhu. He's a role model for many, many young people. I want to say, thousands and thousands of Indian scientists have had their lives changed, where they're doing things more meaningful in their life. And he's also known as an icon in ISKCON circles for engineering devotees. So he engineers engineers. So he re-engineers engineers by changing the molecules in the heart. That is his expertise. And so we are here, Radheshyam Prabhu. This is Bhakta Caleb.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice young man. And we have Key. He's done his school at Tech and he's working. And Mangalarati, she incredible personality. Dynamite also.
Yeah.
Shastrakrit Prabhu is a veteran. He has spent his life in the streets of LA. Now he is in the streets of Atlanta. That's his expertise. He knows the streets of Atlanta very well. And Krishna Gopal Prabhu, Gopal Pran Prabhu. He is a traveling partner. In America, when we say partner, it has different connotations.
Even it looks funny.
Yes.
He is the most expert cook from Pune.
Not only that, because as you all know, consciousness, we have discussed how important it is. All relationships, with everything we have, is a transaction of consciousness. So he carries the spiritual consciousness and he infuses in the food to keep Radheshyam Prabhu nourished. And brahmachari means you should always travel with a partner. You should never be alone, otherwise your mind will become a partner, dominant partner. So that's why you will see brahmacharis always travel in twos. As Shastrakrit Prabhu, Gopal Pran Prabhu and Narayani Devi, she grew up in a golden cage. Now she is. You understand that term, golden cage?
In an affluent family.
Yes. And now she is a school teacher and a very sincere bhakti yogi. And then you have Balaram. He's very humble and silent till you rile him up, and then he has very deep questions. It's very nice. And then Shlok, we met recently, but he's at Microsoft and he's joining the crowd of cool people, because these are all cool people. So unless you're cool, you can't get into the thing. That's our rule number one. And then you have Bhakta Nate. He's a deep introspective sage. He doesn't say much, but when he speaks, there's a lot of gravity there. And Nitai is a very saintly, peaceful person. He doesn't say anything unless you keep instigating him, then he will say something. Balaram and Nitai are same. There's two colors, Deha Vedam Gatavato. They live together and they don't talk to each other. And once they talk to each other, they have deep philosophical discussions. There's a lot of silent communications, but they're all communicating with each other's minds. Incredible saints. And Harshad also recently joined the cool camp. And so this is it. So we'll start. I've introduced Radheshyam. Actually, it's not very easy to hold him down. Just so that you know, he doesn't waste his time. His time is extremely precious to him because his life belongs to Krishna. And so I wanted to open by saying, if you guys have any questions about anything you've been practicing, seeing, hearing, reading about spirituality, this is a chance. He has transformed, re-engineered the lives of, if not, hundreds and thousands of young engineers. So, we'll start. Anybody with questions? He always he has a million questions, but he doesn't ask. And then after the program is over, then he has more questions. So, you want to start, Key? From the last meeting we had with Goranga, with Raghunath Swami, you have any thoughts, anything you want to share?
I don't have a lot of questions right now. I guess, how do you work on convincing people who are scientifically minded to think about religion? Because I see it as much more poetic and less this fact. It's hard for me to talk to people who are scientifically minded because they just dismiss it offhand.
Yeah. Scientifically minded students certainly have some specific reservations about God and religion. So we generally approach them based on their specific queries. For example, how do you say God exists? Or how do you say, man did not evolve from the apes? So these kind of questions many students ask generally. One of the things, commonest things, is because of the current system of education does not talk much about spirituality in the schools and colleges. They are brought up in that way. So we certainly are sympathetic to those who are not aware of spirituality, and their questions can be handled. If anybody, you can tell me what kind of questions they ask based on their scientific perspective of life. And for every specific question, there's an answer. So then, correspondingly, we answer. We don't say everything that we have what spirituality talks about. Spirituality is oceanic. So, person to person, they have different kind of, some people say, you say God and religion, see there is so much suffering in this world. Why? Therefore we don't believe in God, because how can God allow people to suffer like this? People ask this question directly. Then we can answer the question specifically. So in general, when I go to the colleges and all, many people have questions about fate and free will. That is one of the topics I speak about. Is the destiny in our hands, or we are play toys in the hands of somebody higher? So then we answer that particular question. So if you can tell me one of the questions scientifically they ask, then we can discuss. Yeah.
I have a scientific question that I have had, just to kind of follow up on what you said. There is AI these days, right? The dream AI, will be able to take decisions and can book through things. And then you have free will.
Yes.
So it's also a choice. So if you have a machine with an AI and you have a person with free will, so how is free will different from artificial intelligence?
Actually, artificial intelligence, if you study the subject about it, like in our college days, we had these expert systems, we call it. So they have a kind of shell in which they call 20 automobile engineers, and all of them put their intelligence into it. And then it's combined intelligence which the machine has that is sufficient for solving the problems of automobile. So initially the machine will tell you, the expert system will tell you, okay, is the spark plug all right? Is the compression chamber all right? It's all right. It'll ask you questions, and then if something is not all right, it gives you answer. You do this, but that answer is not the machine's answer. It is borrowed intelligence. So artificial intelligence can be called as borrowed intelligence. Okay. Machine does not have intelligence at all. Machine cannot have intelligence actually. The machine can possess intelligence, which is borrowed from a group of experts in that field. Now, for instance, say I take the chess champions from America, from India, and other places. The best of the chess champions' intelligence, we give input into the computer. So now let us take 20 chess champions in the world, and I have supplied it to the machine. So when I am playing chess with the machine will defeat me. So people may say, is machine not more intelligent than you? But that machine is currently possessing the intelligence supplied by people who are more expert than me in chess. So if that is not there, therefore people confuse between the machine and the living being. So this is a very foundational. The living being has 3 external symptoms and 3 internal symptoms. So you all can now verify it based on what I am going to tell you. The external symptom is, you can hear me? Is it
I
loud?
just want to record it.
Oh, you can.
It's being recorded.
Oh, it's being recorded. Okay, great.
You see, perception, mental activity, and purposeful action. These 3 are the 3 observable external symptoms of any living body. Say I am walking on the road, there is a snake passes, for example. My eyes are able to perceive the presence of the snake, perception. Then immediately there is a mental activity. Oh, snake can bite, and some snakes are poisonous also. It may be fatal. So I do a mental activity and I develop a fear. Then purposeful action means I look around, I take a stick and I beat the snake in order to save myself. So these 3 things you will only see in a living body. Say for example, if a snake is crawling over that chair or table, they will just keep quiet. They will just keep quiet. Do you think they will move? They won't move because they can't perceive. They don't have that perception, nor do they have any mental activity, nor any purposeful action. Correct, no? Another example, say somebody brings you some sweet item to eat, you go to somebody's house, they have kept it in front of you, but they haven't told you to eat. So you are looking at it, immediately there's a saliva. Correct, no? You look at it, the perception happens. Due to perception, there is salivation. You see that. And you are eager to eat, but you are just waiting for them to say, go ahead. So when they say, you haven't eaten it, please take it. Immediately take a spoon, you put it. That's purposeful action. So, in this way, the conscious awareness is only there in a living body and not in a machine. You will see that. These are 3 external symptoms. I'll tell you 3 internal symptoms. All of you ask yourself, what is one thing you are looking for in life? Not only all of us, the whole world is looking for only one thing in this world. Can any of you guess what it is?
Love.
Okay, she's saying love, very good. Anybody else? Yeah?
Happiness.
Happiness, yes. Is there anyone who feels people are looking for anything other than happiness? Everybody is looking for happiness. Huh?
Purpose.
Yeah?
Purpose.
Very good. Purpose, those who are looking for purpose are very thoughtful. And that purpose is ultimately something that culminates in happiness. If you ask someone how much happiness you want, this much or this much, they will say this much. And how much suffering you want, they will say this much, this much, this much. They will say 0. So that means nobody wants suffering and everybody wants happiness. So when I was speaking this, one boy argued with me. He said, no, life would be boring if there is only happiness. There should be some suffering also, some happiness. A mixture would make life more interesting, like that he said. Then I asked the boy, in your first year, say you got 6th grade, 6 out of 10. The second year you got 8. Third year you got 9. In 4th year, what would you expect? So he said 10 out of 10. He said. Then I told him, anyway you are going on increasing the marks, you would have got bored with it. Some amount of suffering should also be there. Now would you like to again have 6 or 7? I asked him. He said, definitely not. Then I asked him, that means, okay, I asked him, let us assume the first year itself you got 10 out of 10. Second year also you got 10 out of 10. Third year also you got 10 out of 10. Now will you be bored with the 10 out of 10? And would you want to have 6 or 7? He said, definitely not. That means we all are looking only for happiness. But in this world there is a mixture of happiness and suffering. Both are there. We reluctantly accept suffering. But given the choice, we would not want suffering. Another example, think about it. Here in America, you don't have a gas cylinder, I believe. You have gas, I think it comes in pipes. In India, they have cylinders. So let us assume there's an Indian gas in India. They have a gas station where you go and pick up a cylinder. Say first year he made 1 lakh, say first year he made, say for example, $20,000 he made first year. Second year he made $40,000. Third year he made $16,000. Do you think he'll get bored with the profits? Will you ever say that, oh, now I'm going on making profit, life is too boring, let there be a fire accident in my shop, let some cylinders get blasted so that my profit will go less. Will you ever think like that? Nobody. Therefore you will see, we want increasing happiness, we don't want anything to interfere with that happiness. So we have to be clear about this point. Is my accent clear enough for everybody?
Yes.
So in this way, we are all pleasure seeking by nature. We are looking for happiness. Madam said that we are looking for love, which is also correct. In that love, we are looking for happiness. Because exchange of love is equal to happiness. Therefore, we are looking for love. He said about purpose. Yes, it is true. Why are you looking for purpose? When we were small children, we were playing with a tricycle or something. Then we left the tricycle, went for a bike or maybe a car. We get better and better things in life which will give us more and more happiness. Make life better. So if you see, finally one wants to know why at all this world exists. There has to be some meaning. Is it existing without any rhyme or reason? Or is there a purpose? And once that purpose is achieved, do you expect that purpose to give you suffering or happiness? So people who think about purpose are very intelligent people. Because they know that this work I am doing, this is purposeless. Let me try alternative like this one. For example, many people are selfish in this world. They only think about themselves. But more wiser people also think about others. I heard one very interesting statement. May the wicked become virtuous. May the virtuous become tranquil. May the tranquil become free. May those who are free set others free. So I loved this poem. Because this is not thinking about oneself. This is talking about doing something for others. So selflessness gives deep joy, undoubtedly. So therefore, a person who thinks about purpose initially thinks of selflessness. Then for whom? Then somebody thinks, I belong to this section of society, I will show selflessness to my people, he thinks. Then he expands his consciousness to his country people. Then he expands his consciousness to all humans. Then he expands his consciousness to all living beings, including animals and birds and everybody. So we call it in English as a love agape, we call it. Love agape means universal love. So in that stage you feel the greatest happiness because you have identified the right purpose. When the right purpose is achieved, it is synonymous to ultimate happiness. Is it all right? So this is one inner thing you can see that all of us are happiness seeking. Second thing, all of us, you will see, wherever there is a living body, I am telling you, it is knowledge seeking also. Otherwise, why do we go to schools? Why do we go to colleges? We all are seeking knowledge. Even if you keep a plant in a dark room and you open the window and sunlight comes, the plant goes towards that. It's called as from darkness to light. So from ignorance to knowledge, you want to. Even science is also researching about more and more. Why? Because they don't want to live in ignorance. Science has many purposes. One of the purposes is to know what are the dangers that exist in nature so we can avoid the dangers. That's one of the goals. Another goals of science is to research the nature so that we can exploit the nature and enjoy. Ultimately. This the second one is knowledge seeking. You all agree? What do you think about this? Seeking knowledge. Are we knowledge seeking or are we not knowledge seeking? What do you think?
Yes.
You agree, right?
But ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That is a lower happiness. There is a lower happiness and there is a higher happiness. For example, in the early morning, sometimes in our temple also, one fellow was sleeping on a chill winter night. So morning he said he took off his blanket and looked through the window. It was raining also and it was foggy also. And he looked around, others were sleeping. And we have a habit of getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning, get up, get ready and come at 4:30. So he again covered himself and went to sleep. He thought I'll get up in 10 minutes. And then he got up after 4 hours. So, of course, later on he came. So I asked him, why you didn't get up in the morning? He said, there is some kind of pleasure we get by keeping ourselves inside the blanket and sleeping. Yes, it is true. On the other hand, you throw away the blanket, get up and go to the shower, take a shower and wear a fresh clothes and go in front of God, bow down and be with everybody else. You're dancing and singing. That's another type of pleasure. Both are pleasure. But this is called as pleasure in ignorance. This is called as pleasure in goodness. So this pleasure is of a higher quality. Like in India, you will find pigs sometimes live in a ditch. And the pigs also eat something very dirty. You may be aware probably, it eats stool. So you will see that is also deriving happiness. But that happiness is lower happiness. Now we don't live in a ditch, we live in a clean house. And we also eat clean food. This is a higher happiness. If somebody says, no, that is also happiness, why can't I also go and live in the ditch? That happiness is not count. Therefore, we want to become knowledgeable. That is inhygienic. This is hygienic. I am knowledgeable. Therefore, even in Corona time also, when Corona came, scientists started researching to know how the Corona enters into the lungs. I heard that it first goes in the nose and stays 2 days. Then it stays in the throat for 4 days. And then it enters the lungs after that. Within these 5-6 days, if you detect it, then you can remove it. But once it goes, the lungs creates more trouble. Then you need more oxygen and all those things. So is this awareness important or not? What do you think? Yeah. We need awareness about the world we are living in for our survival. We need that. So we are a knowledge seeking, always. And the third thing is, first is we are happiness seeking. Second is we are knowledge seeking. There is also a third thing. In this world, everybody wants to survive. And everybody wants to prolong their life. You will see that. For example, if there is a fly, I try to catch the fly will escape. You will see that. Similarly, if there's a bird sitting in the tree, somebody is trying to pelt a stone, the bird will fly away. And because the bird is afraid that this fellow will kill me or something. And even an animal doesn't want to be slaughtered in the slaughterhouse. When somebody is catching, and I saw in Pune, one fellow was dragging a goat for slaughter. And the goat was not willing to go. He was like resisting. He knew that this fellow will take me there and he will kill me. So nobody likes to be killed, or nobody likes his life to be shortened. Now we all see that in this world, anybody in this world lives for 70, 80, 90, maximum 100 years. Correct? No? But I have seen with my eyes, an old man who was 90 or 92, he got some cancer. He was bedridden. And the doctor called his son and daughter and said, I thought he whispered to them, told them that he will only stay for 2 months, that's all. So after the doctor went, the man asked his son and daughter, come here, what did the doctor say? He asked. And they were looking at each other whether to tell him or not. They were a little doubtful. And his soul started weeping. Did he say that I will die? As he was asking. So that means even though he is 92 years old, he is afraid to die. He is not eager to die. Is there anybody eager to die? Now some students argue that what about suicide? Are they not eager to die? How will you counter that question? Anybody? I am now telling you that nobody likes to die in this world. Everybody likes to prolong their life as much as possible. But there are also people who commit suicide. So are they not willing to die? What do you think about it?
Because they want to enjoy, they want to live, but they don't like the way.
Exactly. The purpose of their committing suicide is under the notion that if I end my life, I am going to be happy. because living makes me unhappy. So that follows the first principle which I said: happiness seeking, awareness, knowledge seeking, and immortality seeking. Three things. So therefore, they end out of ignorance. They do that because no one can be extinguished. Because we are living spirit. The spirit always lives. Spirit cannot be burned by fire, cut by weapons and anything. They don't know. But otherwise, the normal people, you all agree that the people in general would like to live long life. You agree? Correct, yeah. We like to live longer, correct, no? Of course, if there is unhappiness, we would like to saturate the situation also. We want to saturate the situation, continue to be happy and live for long time happily. Long means how long? If I want to live forever. That's the longest time people want to live. These three are our own internal observations of our personality. You can observe it yourself. In your own system, you can observe. These three things you will find. So I told you 3 internal and 3 external. Living body means these 6 symptoms totally which I told you will exist. In the dead body, none of this exists. So other than that, you can see when there is a living force in a body, it can also reproduce. Like you can see a man and a woman can unite and they can beget a child. You can see that. On the other hand, have you ever seen your truck and big van unite and produce a scooter or something? There is a car, you can't see that. No. Machines cannot reproduce. Correct, no? Machines cannot reproduce. Or a desktop computer and laptop computer give out a palm top computer. You cannot see that. Only living bodies can reproduce. Correct, no? You can see that. So this is another difference. Living body can reproduce. One more difference I'll tell you. For example, take a chair like this. A million years if you keep here, only one change will happen in this. It is called depreciation and disintegration. It will turn into powder practically after a million years. Whereas if you take a living body, it has 6 changes, not one change. It grows from childhood to boyhood to youth, and then it's maintained for a while, then dwindling and decay. You will see that every living body. Take the body of a dog, take the body of a tree, take the body of a human, take the body of a bird. Anywhere you see living force, 6 changes are observed. Whereas dead matter, only one change. Depreciation and dwindling, that's all. So these are all observable differences between life and matter. One is the 6 changes I told you, another one is reproduction I told you. And in the beginning I told you 3 plus 3, 3 external, 3 internal symptoms. So based on all these things we can understand the presence of life in a body and the absence of life in dead matter is very clearly scientifically understandable and explainable. Yeah. So what was the original question we were discussing about?
Yeah.
And you had asked.
Yeah.
Correct. Now it's clear.
100%.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah, so I got a question about the spiritual world. This is one that's been bugging me for a long time. If everything in the material world is also in the spiritual world, and the jivas there are enjoying them eternally and infinitely more than you can here, then why is the jiva ever attracted to the material world in the first place?
Okay. So, see, this is a time domain inside which we all exist. And outside the time domain, there is, a zone where there is no change at all. If it is timeless, there is no change. Correct, no? When there is no timeless, it's a timeless zone. Or we can put it in a different way. Time is conspicuous by its absence, means time is under control. Here, time is not in our control. The world beyond this time zone is outside. So you have heard about this time dilation theory of Einstein? He says. So, if light travels at a speed of 3 into 10 to the power of 6 meters per second, it's extremely fast. 1 second, if you do like this, goes very fast. So Einstein made at one time a statement: if somebody travels at a speed of light, if you can travel, then the speed is so great that the time taken to reach from this point to that point will be delta and t tending towards 0. Because time is practically, it's small time, isn't it? It's like 1 second, you reach such a long distance. So then he made a statement that as you go higher, higher and higher and higher, there's a time difference. He observed even in his times, which is also explained in all the wisdom literatures also you will find. For example, we are in the earthly plane. If you go to the heavenly plane, our 6 months is equal to their 1 day. And our 6 months is again equal to their 1 night. So if they spend 1 day and night on the earth, it will be 1 year is over. Like that. So why to go to heaven? Even you can observe here, sometimes around the bulb you find, some flies are like, small tiny flies have been moving around the bulb. You will see that. They are born at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock they grow, at 12 o'clock they become adult, 1 o'clock probably they are married, and you find, 2 o'clock they beget children, and 3 o'clock they are dead. In 1 night they are finished. Now compare their life to your life. We live 100 years. They live only 1 night only. So you can see the lifespan difference, correct, no? Between their life and our life. Similarly, the time difference also he says. That is, earthly plane time is longer, heavenly plane time is only 1 day. If you go to a highest planet on this world, in that place 1 moment is equal to our 1 year. Here 1 day is equal to our 1 year. Here 1 moment is equal to our 1 year. So now if you go still further, then the chart will go like this. Like we have this time, this thing we have, flash. Because why? Because when you'll come to a apex point where, less than 1 moment will be equal to long period of time. Is that clear to everybody? Mm-hmm. So far so good, right? So therefore, spiritual world is a place where for 1 moment you become forgetful. That is equal to a long lifespan. Is that clear?
That's the most satisfying answer I've ever heard to that question.
And why we can become momentarily forgetful? Because we are actually always given free will by the Supreme. Free will is always there. Some people argue, what is the need of free will? Why can't I always be kept in spiritual world and never sent here and things like that? People ask like that. Actually, without free will, there is no love. Love implies free will. If somebody says that, no, that free will should be taken away, basically they are saying, make me a robot. But the ultimate God, He doesn't want to make us robots. He respects our free will. He greatly respects our free will. Actually, one of the meanings of respecting free will is to give respect to the individual. One of the definitions of respect is to recognize the individual. For example, say in one house some guests are coming, grandmother, grandfather, their son and daughter, and then the grandchildren are coming. I always seen when a host is receiving them, they will not give everybody the same thing to eat. For the child, they may give ice cream or a cake or something like that. For the grown-ups, they will give a big plate of food. For the elderly ones, they can't eat food, their teeth are gone, they will give something to drink. So they are treating all of them equally by treating them differently. Is it not true? That's a sign of respect. Because you respect what will suit them. You are concerned about them. You ask them, you want hot ones or cold ones? You want cold coffee or hot coffee? Correct, no? That means you are respecting them. So where did we get that sensitivity? We have learned it from ultimate God only. Because original Supreme, He has that, He has a oceanic amount of affection, love, due to which He respects even the tiniest of the creatures. He allows them their free will. And free will, when there's free will, then we can love or we can forget momentarily. Like sometimes we protest against our father sometimes. We have had arguments with our father. This is a sample of that original, rebellion, we can say. It's a small sample of that. So momentarily we protest against him or we turn away against him, and that 1 moment is equal to a long period. It appears like a very long period. Thank you. Yeah, yes.
One more. Sorry. just there's been so much. This is another question I've had for a while. There's been so much research on God particle recently, and then Srila Prabhupada writes about the same topic in Easy Journey to Other Planets. I was wondering if you can comment a little bit about, like, is it fair to tell people, like, these scientists are just discovering this God particle and antimatter, but Prabhupada talked about it 50 years ago? Or is it something different? If you had some...
Actually, many of the scientists are searching for the origin of the universe. See, there are two questions scientists have not yet answered satisfactorily. According to all scientists, even the Stephen Hawking, who was passed away in 2018, he was a die-hard atheist. So, there are many people, intelligent people like that, who are unable to give a satisfactory explanation of the origin of universe, origin of life. So, they once made a statement that there was a point, which was a point of infinite density, infinite temperature, and which exploded from where everything has come about. And they also said this point is beyond all conceptions of space and time, mathematically, physically undescribable, mathematically unverifiable, because it starts with a singularity. So they said that point is the point from where everything has started, like that. They said it's called Big Bang theory. The definition of Big Bang theory.
Yes.
Now other scientists told these scientists that this doesn't appear like a scientific theory. If you say you cannot mathematically verify it, physically it's unrealizable, and beyond space and time, then what are you talking about? How can you call it as a scientific theory? In fact, it doesn't eliminate faith. It only gives faith a new God. So, therefore, still they are finding out. Let us assume that these universes are expanding. All these universes are expanding. And they don't know about that particular point from which it came. Or even otherwise, from one point, how can things expand? How can things explode? And from explosion, how can something wonderful come about? That's another question. You go to Oxford Dictionary and look for, Google, you will get it. Oxford Dictionary, if you check it. What is the meaning of the word cosmos? You just put cosmos. Cosmos means it's an orderly, systematic, harmonious universe. That's the definition they themselves gave. So how can something orderly, systematic and harmonious come about from an explosion? Let us assume that there is an explosion in the airport or in some subway station or something. If there is an explosion, bomb blast or something like that, anything good comes about from there. Have you seen suddenly a big skyscraper came, there was an explosion? So nobody has seen order coming from explosion. There is only chaos. That's one thing. And the second thing, if there is a bomb blast or anything, what is the first question we all will ask? You tell me, what question we will ask?
Did anyone die?
No, who did it?
Who did it? Yeah, because somebody must have put it now. It doesn't happen by itself. A bomb blast. So who did it? Who put it? Because we know that there are different groups are there. Gangsters. Which gangster group has put it? We will ask the question, correct, no? So here they are talking about a bang which they don't know who put it. And from such a bang, there cannot be anything orderly, systematic. So therefore, even if they say we have found out that God particle from which everything exploded, if they say like that also, that is still atheistic because they don't know anything about the point from where everything has come. On the contrary, spirituality says that, the point from which everything has come is a person, is ultimately a supreme. Actually, if you can call it intelligence, you can call it divinity, you can call it entity. Ask yourself, for example, you have a father. His father had a father. His father had a father. If you go up, the source of all the fathers in our line, should it be a stone chunk which exploded? Or should it be somebody like your current father you have? You should be somebody like that. Think about it. This is called as cosmological proof, we call it. Source of. Another interesting way by which you can know that there is ultimately a supreme being. How we can know? Right now, all of you have a physical heart and you have a physical head. You can see it in the mirror also. Your head is also there, your heart is also there, correct? Figuratively speaking also, we all talk about somebody as a person of heart or person of head, correct? Who is a person of heart? Can any of you say?
Emotional person.
A person who has emotions, sensitivity. He is not careless. He is very kind, considerate, understanding. approachable. Person of heart. Person of head means sharp, intelligent, logical thinker, shrewd, and he can't be easily cheated by anybody. So this is an intelligent person. So if I ask all of you, would you like to be a person of heart or person of head? Let us take a vote. How many of you would like to be a person of heart? She is immediately.
Can I be both?
I will come to that. And how many of you like to be a person of head? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. How many of you feel that we need a balance between the two? Correct. Yeah. We need a balance. Because if I am only person of the heart, I may be very sensitive to emotions, but sometimes somebody can take undue advantage of it. They may. Sometimes we are. We can't speak what we want to speak out of respect or affection for somebody. On the other hand, if you are a person of head, people will call you as a heartless person. Hey, he's a heartless fellow. He is only like one manager came to the company. His subordinate was having a sling. Like this. He looked at him and said, "Did you complete the project?" He asked him. He said, "Sir, don't you see? I got a fracture. I fell from the bike." "That's all right, but did you complete or not?" He asked him. He said, "Sir, I couldn't complete. How can I type with these hands? You give me a week's time." He said, "That you should call me and tell me. You didn't tell me." "Okay, now I'll tell someone else to do the work." Then he called somebody and said, somebody else was deputed at work. And then the boss just walked away. So this fellow thought he's a heartless fellow. I am fallen from the bike, hand is like this. He's not even. So what is the first thing you should do if you see a person with a sling? What is the first thing you should do? Are you okay? What happened to your hands? So project is also important, but that is not more important than the person. If you don't take care of the person, then how will you do the project? Correct, no? So we can't be a people of only head. But we need a balance between the two. Balance means what? You first ask about the person. Okay, then he is unable to do. You understand it. Then depute the work to someone else. So now we all agree that we need a head and heart. Look at the nature around you. How many of you feel that the Supreme Being should have a heart? Yes. And you have to give evidence for that from nature. Okay, let's take one example. Any of you? How do you feel? You have example?
Example of
Anything that you when you look
heart?
at that the Supreme Being must have a heart by looking at the nature.
The very fact that all the trees are providing with us this oxygen that is very much needed to survive.
Yes.
It
So
must
he is
be
arranging for
very
our survival. Okay? Yes, sir?
Yes, a mother's love for a child that comes naturally.
Exactly. Yeah. As soon as they are born, the mother breastfeeds a child and the mother's affection for a child shows that the Supreme Being should be very affectionate to us. Thank you.
There are so many beautiful things in nature. We see a lot of animals that evolve to defend themselves, but there's also a lot of animals that evolve to attract other
Yes.
animals.
Yes. Yeah, there is a lot of beauty in nature. There are beautiful flowers, there are ripe fruits. Like this, we can see many things, beautiful things in nature, like the rainbow, or the Niagara waterfalls, or the Grand Canyon, or the when William Wordsworth saw the flowers, millions of daffodils. I saw millions of daffodils. He wrote a poem. So the daffodils were like smiling so beautifully in the morning. So we can see that the Supreme Being must be a person with aesthetic appeal. Aesthetic appeal? So only somebody with aesthetic appeal will make flowers of different shapes, sizes, fragrances, colors. Correct? No? Stand like that, yeah. Anything else is appealing to you in nature when you watch? Yes?
The sweet fruits,
Yeah.
Delicious.
6 types of juices.
delicious fruits like mango, lychees.
That's right, yeah. Why he has done that? Imagine he only created one item. Say bread. Only bread, that's all. Whole life he keep eating bread, no jam. No jam, no sweet. And we'll see, this fellow must be cruel fellow. He's sending only bread all my life, isn't it? But therefore he has given varieties of juices. When I ask the students, how many of you like apple juice? Some people raise hand. How many of you like pineapple juice? Somebody else raises hand. How many like lemon juice? How many like mango juice? That many people raise hand. But mango, I think mango is like the most, I think. So that means, he knows that we are all children of one Supreme, ultimately. We want to give taste to our taste buds. He's so kind. Just like mother makes nice eatables for us and gives us. Like that he's giving. You can see that. So in this way, you can see his heart in nature. Now, how can we see his head? How he is a heady person? How do you know that?
Water, there's so much salt water, but he arranges for it to be evaporated and distributed.
It's made a mechanism
Yeah.
for giving the sweet waters.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So we see so many designs in nature, like flight was copied from birds, and then submarines are copied from some
Correct.
fishes.
Correct.
So we are copying all the designs. So it must be like from an intelligent.
Correct. He certainly has a great intelligence because many things are done by him first, done by the Supreme first, and after that we have copied many things. Like you all know this ant hill, from the ant hill they made the air conditioners after that, because ant hills are a scale type of thing, which is very cooling inside. Then from that they also made scales, and they learned. By seeing the bird, they made the aeroplane, the law of buoyancy and flotation. That's how they learned from that. In the same manner, there are bridges made like this type of bridges. They were made from this kind of elbow, that bones. Seeing that they are made many things. Man has imitated many things by seeing nature. Like Earth is revolving around the sun in 365.256 days. Up to the third decimal, it is so precise. You can set your watch by seeing the movement of the planets. It is so precise. So there are many things. There is a spiral. I have a video on that, like Archimedean spiral. The amazing thing with the spiral is 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 1. You will see that 2 plus 3, 5. It goes on like this. It's a spiral. So he has used the same equation in many things. It's called as Fibonacci. Yeah, Fibonacci we call it. Fibonacci spiral. For example, take a sunflower, take a pineapple, take the ocean waves, take the starfish, and take your fingers also. If you see your finger, 1, 2, 5, it goes like this. Same equation is followed. Even the galaxies, that spiral of the galaxy is also same. So that fellow who made this, he calls it as a God's signature in nature, he says. So it must be the person who created this world must be very super intelligent actually. Look at the sun. Sun is, the size of the sun and earth if you compare, 14 lakh earths can be put inside the sun. Sun is so huge in size. And it is traveling at a speed of 16,000 miles in 1 second. If you do like this, 16,000 miles it travels. Such a huge object, and it can burn us down into ashes, but the distance is kept in such a manner that we feel the warmth, but we don't get burned down. So arranging it precisely, all these things we can say. Yeah.
See, like the Fibonacci you were saying, I was actually reading a lot of books on trading, like option trading and things. That also follows Fibonacci in
Is
many,
it?
many cases.
Amazing. Amazing it is. Very amazing. So, therefore, you must be an intelligent person. Now, if that Supreme Being has a head and a heart, like you have a head and heart. So, now you decide whether is he a impersonal light or is he a being? Is he a person? You understand my point? Is it clear? There is a Supreme Being who is the creator of the whole universe. Just as every one of us entities we are all sitting here. He is one Supreme Being who has created the whole. He has a head, he has a heart. Yeah. And also, how we brought up this point? Somebody asked the question. Correct. And ultimate God is not a particle, he is a personality. But spiritual personality. And he may be addressed by various names. Like if you take sun for example, in Sanskrit we call sun as Dinakar, Bhaskar, Ravi, Surya, Suraj. In English we call sun. In Spanish, what do you call sun? Anybody know Spanish?
So,
Son, you call it, yeah, yes. And in other languages, anybody knows? What is the sun called as? In my mother tongue, it's called Surya. Surya, so yeah, correct one. Yeah. So different name, but the item is same. Similarly, one Supreme Being is called by multiple names, different names, but there's only one. Like water, for example. You want to drink water. Everybody calls water with different names according to the language, but the substance is same. Okay, anybody else wish to say anything? Yeah, please.
You make so many
wheels start turning in my head. But I was particularly eager to hear about your experience talking to all these engineers. I understood you went to many of the top universities in India. And
Indian Institute of Health.
yeah, so what did you find? I'm curious. It's a big shift learning about bhakti because it has such a different center than material science. But are there any common traits among devotees coming from that background that you found, or what is it like, that world of people who have become devotees from the science community?
He should explain that very well, because he himself went to IIT and then he did Zen in Bombay, right?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I was told that one of your friends, Madhu Pandit, was your classmate.
Madhu Pandit was my senior. Gauranga Prabhu and me, Gauranga Prabhu was in BTech, I was in MTech.
Okay. Yeah. You guys met Gauranga.
You're senior to Gauranga Prabhu.
We both used to cook together in IIT. Yeah. We were 5 of us staying together.
And the guy who created the Akshay Patra Foundation, I told you.
He's from IIT, he's our senior. Yeah.
So he should be able to.
He's from the same IIT. You see?
Out of the 5, all 5 came into ISKCON?
Actually, we were about 40 of us coming for the weekly classes. Out of the 5 of us joined. Yeah. Our His Holiness Bhakti Samarth Maharaj used to come. He was taking classes for us. Yeah. So I can answer this. See, what is the goal of science, if you ask? One of the goals of science is to alleviate the miseries. For example, say if walking makes my leg painful, then I would invent a car. So I don't have to walk, I can just drive a smooth car. If the sun is too hot, then I would invent an air conditioner to save myself from the pain of heat of the sun, like that. So if you see, the purpose of science is to alleviate the miseries, eliminate miseries if possible. If you cannot eliminate, at least alleviate the miseries. It's one of the goals of science. Another goal of science is to research and figure out what is this world in which we are living in. And there is a keen interest in scientists to research and discover the nature in every field. You can take physics, chemistry, biology, in every field. They are doing more and more research to figure out the nature. For what purpose? So that we can make the nature slave to us. So that we can get things done through the nature. One purpose is that. One purpose is how to exploit the matter for increasing our comforts and luxuries. Like, for example, I am researching in nature about electricity, for example. Now with one concept called electricity, I can have 2,000 applications. Like I can use a fan to reduce my sweating. I can have a grinder, it cooks flour and everything. I can do many items like that. So the goal of science, I told you, one thing is to research and know the world around us, to exploit it for our enjoyment. That's one thing I told you. Another purpose of science also is to produce comforts in life, increase the comforts. So they seem to be similar, but they are two different things. One is to remove the miseries, another one is to increase the comforts. Even if you are in a steady state, from there they want to make life more and more comfortable. That's all science is. And also science also researches more about the things in the world to subdue the nature, so that nature cannot trouble us. We can rather, like for example, they know that there are certain things in nature which may be harmful for us. So once you discover them, then you can find out ways by science to avoid them. One example I gave you is Corona, I told you. Pandemic. So pandemic is harming so many humans. So science finds out through the medical research ways and means to offset the disease. Correct, no? So a lot of research is being done. So, and if you take the purpose of religion or spirituality, same purpose. If you see, the purpose of religion is what? To find out why am I suffering? How I can put a full stop to suffering. But there is one big difference between spirituality and science, I will tell you. Science goes to the immediate cause or at the most remote cause. But spirituality asks about the ultimate cause. Say for example, in this hall, let us assume that there is a very nasty smell coming. obnoxious smell. So you get one Odonil and Odonil, you all know Odonil, yeah?
Air refresher.
Air freshener. You put it because guests are coming, we should put air freshener, we put it and you're happy now. But when the air freshener gets over, again the smell is going to come. Right? On the contrary, I move the tables, chairs, everything, I found there is a dead rat, for example. So you take out the rat and throw it far away, along with that will be gone the smell. You agree? There is no more nasty smell anymore because that is the root cause of the smell. So should I go to the root cause or keep putting Odonil? Which one?
Root cause.
Science tells you to keep putting Odonil. And spirituality teaches you to go to the root cause and throw away the dead rat. Now you decide which path you want to take. I found that. Like one boy was getting pimples. You know pimples? So he was given some Clarisil or something. Doctor told him apply. Applied it, cheeks became clean. He was very happy. After 1 week, again it came. Again he applied the ointment. So went to doctor. Doctor said, whenever it comes, you apply, he said. He said, doctor, I have finished 6 ointments. I have finished. 6 pieces. I have finished. It's not going at all. This week it goes, next week it comes. Doctor said, I don't know any other medicine other than this one. You keep on applying, purchase 1,000 pastes and keep with you. Keep on applying, he said. Is it a good doctor? No. Another doctor told him, you have problem in your blood. Your blood is toxic. I will give you an injection by which I will remove the toxin in the blood. When he removed it, he never got the pimples. So you decide which doctor to go to. This is a stopgap solution doctor. He is a permanent solution doctor. I will go to permanent solution. That's why I took this life. Because I found spirituality goes to the root. It doesn't deal superficially. Ultimate cause. Whereas in the science, they go to mirror. For example, certain doctors, if you say, sir, my neck is paining, they say take Brufen or Combiflam or something. Their back is paining, again Brufen. Their knee is paining, again Brufen. So this type of medication is very superficial. Whereas if certain doctors say, sir, my stomach is paining, immediately will ask you, what did you eat yesterday night? If you say, yesterday night there was a pizza party. I ate 2 big pizzas. Doctor says, that is sitting in your belly now. So you he'll give you a powder, you put it, just throws out the pizza. Then your stomach is empty, your pain is no more. You don't have to eat Brufen. He won't give you such medicine. Painkiller. So painkiller means it suppresses the pain. It doesn't address the root cause, which is the disease. So should we say somebody has got cancer, is suffering from pain. Should you suppress the pain or cure the cancer? Tell me. So science actually teaches you to get a painkiller, a stopgap solution. It just suppresses the pain. For the time being, they tell you that we will give you this, we'll give you mobile, we'll give you video games, we will give you this facility, that facility. Just be happy. They're happy, but then nobody can stop old age. Nobody can stop diseases. Nobody can
We'll
stop.
stop. Just give us time. Just give me a little bit more time. We're researching right now.
Yeah, that many people have been telling. Stephen Hawking in 2001, he had promised that I will give a gut. Gut is actually called grand unified theory. 2018, you know what he said? Everybody started nagging him. You said, now 18 years have passed, what are you doing? Now he said, dear friends, I would like to declare today to all the scientists that your research will never come to an end and you will never be able to arrive at such a equation. Because the universe is far more complex than I thought of it to be. So, but you all have a good time, keep researching, your research will never come to an end. And same year he died actually, 2018 he passed away. So this is a false promise he made, he has not done. In the same manner, 1996, one man said that, one scientist, by another 4 years, by the end of 2001, I will give a humanoid to the world, he said. A female humanoid and male humanoid. So they can marry, you choose your partner, and the humanoid will be submissive to you. You can completely obedient. There will be no problem of partner not cooperating. You know? So he said that now in 2022, till date the humanoid is not produced. The way he said, a conscious humanoid. Because you cannot instill consciousness in dead robot. It's just not possible. So we can quote such false promises given by scientists which they have never proven and say that this has been always the case.
Okay, we'll just clone you. We'll just clone you.
Cloning is also done from a living man and a living woman only. You show me one,
So we'll just clone the good people.
yeah. Clone good people? Oh, it's not very easy to produce a clone. For example, if you read the cloning, 100 surrogate mothers are required. 100 surrogate mothers are required, they clone and put, and one or two mothers may produce a proper baby who is genetically the same. You will see that. Huh? Otherwise, the other clones don't fructify also. And one more point, leave alone the clone. Let us take twins. How many of you have seen twins here? Any of you have seen twins? Okay. Now a question for all of you. Have you observed that the two twins don't have the same nature? I observed. And Ian Stevenson, in his reincarnation research, says that why the same egg is splitting and it is giving rise to two babies. Their natures must be completely same. Why is the nature different? Because two different spirit souls have entered those two different bodies. Although they look genetically same, their swabhava or nature is different. This is another proof. So the more science is researching, it is ultimately forced to accept the facts that are present in nature. Let's see, right? So in this way, I have been a student of science and I have been a student of spirituality. I found that the scientific researchers nowadays in robotics, for example, robot cannot tell you how beautiful the picture is. Robot cannot tell you how fragrant a flower is. The robot cannot tell you how sweet a gulab jamun is. A robot cannot say how sweet a song is. It cannot say. Therefore, one very great physicist called Schrödinger, you all have the Schrödinger equation. He says that science, cannot describe about things which are very dear to your hearts. He says these are things like love is very dear for us, but robot cannot understand what is love. Of course, robot can say I love you, can say that, but you have to program it before only to say that. Correct? For example, if I program a computer to say good morning when you open it, correct? No? Or if you program it in the night to say good night, now you reverse the program. So say good night in the morning and good morning in the evening. Morning get up, you say good night, it will say. Because whatever you program only, it will say. That's the meaning of a machine. Machine doesn't have any life. So I found that the science is producing dead machines which have no life and they have no knowledge of life. Scientists have no knowledge of life. Therefore, I studied spirituality deeply and I understood that here is the real life. We saw that. Because it's all talking about atoms and molecules which have no spirit, which have no life, which have no love. It is the study of dead matter. Jada, we call it. It is study of that kind of dead matter. There's nothing. There was one McGregor, one scientist. He even synthesized the semen. You know that? He said, I will use the semen to produce life. And then when he tried to produce life, he saw that it is not able to produce life. So later on, he made one declaration that actually, although I copied the semen made by God, this has life and this has no life. Somehow life slipped out of my hands, he says. And what is the life that slipped out? That is the spirit soul, which is present here, which is not here. So nowadays there is a whole study of consciousness and body, mind, soul coming up all over the world. Probably that is going to kindle more interest. There is one scientist in Caltech, his name is Dr. Kunal. So he has made a group of 25 scientists across the country.
Kunal.
Yeah, Kunal, yeah.
He's a young boy.
Young boy, yeah.
Yeah, he's the Georgia Tech professor's son. Sheila Go's son.
I'll tell you, his full name is Kunal Mule. Yeah.
Yes.
He has written a book also on body mind.
Yes. He's from Georgia Tech.
You know him?
Yes.
Correct. Now he's studying that. Now he's doing that. Postdoc. Postdoc is done.
His mother is part of our group.
Is it? Okay.
His father is a professor at Tech.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, you guys met him. Kunal.
Kunal?
Yeah, the two brothers, Kunal and the young one. He did a nice research. Yes. So tell us about his research.
Actually, body, mind, soul.
He was going to send me the paper today.
Yeah. Actually, that research is now becoming more and more interesting even for many scientists all across the globe. You know Rasaraj Prabhu from Berkeley. So he also offers MS in consciousness studies. He gave a list of universities across the globe. There are 25 universities offering MS in consciousness nowadays. which goes to show that there is an increasing interest even among the scientists to study about consciousness. He had a hand up, I think, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you. You mentioned Schrodinger. I became spiritual after I studied quantum physics. Do you think that? I think quantum physics is very spiritual science.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, the reason is Newton applied laws of motion, and that could not be applied in quantum mechanics. His laws of motion did not apply because quantum behavior is totally different. That is why Einstein brought up his theory. So Einstein also said that the more you research in quantum mechanics more and more, there are things you understand that the behavior of atoms is much different from the behavior of Newtonian mathematics. Yeah. Oh, he's also the same Radheshyamdas, I told you. He has also done the research in quantum mechanics only. And bringing a topic like quantum mechanics and relationships. He brought also, yeah. People have, actually in the field of science, not only quantum mechanics, there are 88 scientists have written one book. It is called as Evidence of God in an Expanding Universe. So in that book, each scientist is saying from his own angle how they firmly can affirm that there is a supreme intelligence governing this world. Mathematician is saying, biologist is saying, chemist is saying, physicist is saying. So each of them has written, like one page they have given some declaration like that based on different fields. That means eventually over a period of time, any genuine scientist, like our Lord Kelvin said that, if you think strongly enough, you will be forced by science to accept God, like that he says. Lord Kelvin says that. You will come, eventually after going round and round, they will come to understand that. But they take a long time. Instead of spirituality, like for example, if somebody wants to know what is nose, I tell you, this is nose. How can you say so simple? I will find out what is nose. They will say, is this the nose? We found out in our laboratory, this is not the nose. And then say, is it the nose? No, it's not the nose. Is it the nose? Finally, they will come and say, now we found out the nose. Instead of taking a long route, spirituality tells you, here is the nose. That makes it easy. So, yeah.
Now we are talking about biological sciences. I went to a Jewish family for Shabbat last Friday, and we were just discussing religion, and it was Ganpati Chaturthi. So I showed them, Ganesh, and then they were like, "Do you really believe it? Like, an elephant head god?" So suppose a scientific person asks you that question, how would you answer that?
Yeah. See, for the first question is, we are talking about one supreme being governing the universe. Correct now. You can ask them, what do you think about one supreme being governing the universe? Or you feel there is nobody, you ask them like that. If they say, no, we don't believe in anybody, they say like that. Immediately you can ask a question. As soon as there is a group of people, they must have a leader. Like here you are a group of people, and you have Veda. Correct now? You have a leader whom you are inspired by. Correct now? You similarly go to a company, there is a CEO. You go to a school, there is principal. Go to your whole country, there is the president of the United States. Correct now? Show me a place where there is a group of people who have no leader. Show me one. You cannot show it. Similarly, we have so many living beings in this world, millions of them. You should have a leader in the top. So, how can, without leader, so many living beings, go on? Somebody is supplying everything. Correct. In this way, there are 12 different ways to establish the presence of one supreme. There are 12 different ways: teleological approach, henological approach, the cosmological approach. Like that, there are different ways. There's the ontological approach. So from different angles, you explain to them how there is a supreme being. There is a symbiotic proof. So I am only telling you one or two here. Otherwise, it will become a big class. I'm not telling you. But if you tell them these things, leave alone this Ganesh now. First of all, let us discuss whether the supreme at all is there. After they accept the supreme, then you can say that that's only one supreme. But the supreme is managing the whole affairs of the universe with various creatures, various personalities. For example, a president of the United States doesn't run the country himself. If you go to the Pentagon, he has many confidential people with whom he runs, who are next to him. Correct? Like in India, we have one prime minister and about 30 chief ministers, and there are MLAs and there are MPs. So in the same manner, there is one supreme, and then there are many assisting hands for the Supreme. So one of the assisting hands is this personality. Now if somebody says, how can he look like this if he says, look at the 8.4 million species. There is one species called elephant in this world, correct? Don't you agree that elephant exists? And similarly, you find there are other creatures, there are birds, there are tigers, there are lions. So if all these forms can exist, even on a celestial plane, why can't different forms exist? What is the problem? Correct, no? Like that we can come from there.
I had a follow similar question. So we understand that all this knowledge helps us like for example Bhagavatam or anything you read, it's very pleasurable and it has stories in it. But then to the outside world, it sounds like some sentimental stories, some gods and something written. So why is it wrapped up in this complex story or whatever form? Why can't it be just simple? If someone is like we said, if God is caring, we should just give it in a simple form. Why is it all complex that needs to be interpreted by some person, and then it has to be and a similar question maybe I'll ask later, or just a similar question is that why doesn't it work instantly? If I tell someone about God, then if it's so powerful, the knowledge, then why doesn't it work instantly? So there's two questions.
Both the questions I asked. You see, when you read the scriptures, it is talking about histories that have happened in this universe at different times, different timelines which have happened in this world. They are recorded. It's a recorded history. So why are these given? Basically, the ultimate scripture talks about one essential thing I will tell you. There is God, there is soul, and there is a love between the two. Pure love between the two. This is the essential knowledge. There is one supreme, then we are all subordinates, and there is a exchange of pure love. And the love exchange is so great that that supreme becomes equal friends with other living beings. He even becomes subordinate to the living beings out of love. Just like sometimes a father becomes subordinate to his son with whom he is having a stunt. You have seen that, correct? So, and if you don't describe how he becomes subordinate to the love of his, part and parcels, with those pastimes, if you don't explain, how can that love be awakened? I will ask a simple thing. A boy is loving a girl, and they have so many romantic exchanges through WhatsApp chat. If you say, what is the need of so many exchanges and all? You are a man, she is a woman, both of you get married and get children and don't have any exchange. Will you say that? So many, how much useless things they talk. Correct, no? The boy talks so much blah, 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 and the girl talks more blah, blah than him also. Is it not true? Why is that so important? In romance, you agree in romance, so much foolish exchanges happen, and finally sometimes they will not marry also. They fight and separate also, you can see that. So in this world also you find, whenever it comes to exchange of love, immediately you will find there is a lot of talk about the personalities. Love is not like a chemical, you mix pipette and burette, you take chemical and hence proved. Is love exchanged like that in this world? So, see, people when they marry, for example, they marry or they are in romantic relations with each other and all, they spend time, this fellow may purchase some flower and give her, correct now? Some exchange is there or not? You may say, what is the need of a flower? What is going to happen? So that means you don't know what love is in this world, correct now? Because giving a bouquet, even when you go to a function, there are formalities, do you know? When I go to a college, they will say that today so Radheshyam has come, they will make me sit on the stage with many other dignitaries, they will introduce everybody, and they'll give a bouquet or something, they will say some words of praise, what I have done, and I will say something about the college. Somebody may say, what is the need of all these formalities? He is called for a lecture, you tell him just speak and go. Would you do that? Even in this life, you can see in this world we are doing that. When it comes to God and the soul and the exchange between the two, why we have problem with these stories, I will tell you. We are suspicious about these stories. Because we are suspicious whether these stories really happened or are they mythological stories, and also it becomes a little difficult for us to explain to our friends. So you want everything mathematical, God should be like a shining light, and the living spark like shining light, and then you go there and merge in God, and then you are silent. And that is why for jnanis, that type of knowledge is kept in Upanishad. Upanishads are very enigmatic. If you read it, they don't talk about God very explicitly with all these pastimes and Bhagavatam. So how the truth is uncovered in the scriptures, if you see, initially a person is thinking of selfish enjoyment in this world, that's all. After he is thoroughly frustrated with all the sufferings in the world, then he thinks of one supreme, whom he considers as impersonal. And he also wants to merge in the impersonal and attain peace. Like you take nirvana, for example. Buddhists say attain nirvana. Jains want to go beyond this world also. The impersonalists also want to go beyond this world. All these people attain what you are talking about. They actually don't talk all these pastimes and all they don't talk. They just talk about freedom from suffering and merging in a impersonal light and attaining peace. And that is one of the reasons why many people like it, because it doesn't take much faith to believe in it. They may just accept it basically people want freedom from suffering. But if you go beyond that 0, then the positive axis comes where what we are talking today, that comes. Where there's Lord is a person, you are a person. There's a loving exchange between the two. And in that loving exchange, there are many nuances, subtleties. Sometimes one can become a friend of the Supreme. One can become a lover of the Supreme. One can actually make the Supreme like your child. In this world also, mother-child relationship is very sweet. Similarly, husband-wife relationship can be sweet. Friend-friend relationship can be sweet. So when sweetness comes, you forget the time. That is, those exchanges involve prescriptions. Similarly, you can see our head has two sides, logical is left side. And the right side is creative. We say, So those who are logical, they generally tend to think only about logic. For example, if somebody comes to a temple, for example, they may say, what is the size of this hall? What is the size of this hall? So total it is how much square feet? What is the height? Okay, this property is how much people. A man talks like this. When a woman comes to the temple, for example, they are by nature they have aesthetic appeal and creativity. So they will say, oh, this is beautiful. This fan has got what do you call this? This is a bulb, there's a nice design. Whatever is artistic, look at the door, it has got leaves, see that? It has got nice leaves. So that means the personality who has designed this place as an aesthetic appeal has made it very nice. So they will notice these things. So we can, if you see with your left brain, we only see the mathematical things, physical things. But when you see with a creative brain, then all details become important. So in the scriptures, there are three types of scriptures. One type of scripture explains only logically, that's all. Another type of scripture, kavya it is called, it's poetry, where it explains like a lover explaining to beloved. Like that. And also a friend persuading a friend. These are different approaches the scriptures take to explain the truth. So, and these are all explained in the scriptures. They are not just stories, they are histories. Histories which have happened at different times, but involving the living beings and the Supreme. I would suggest anybody that they should first go to the basics, like you can have scientific questions like what we are having today. We have the classes going on. Then we go to the Gita. Then we go to the Bhagavatam. And Gita lays a very solid foundation of 5 truths. We call it as Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, Karma. It talks about material nature. It talks about karma, karma. It talks about Supreme. It talks about ourselves. So we can talk about these things first. And Gita will be very interesting for you. You will find it. Especially 13th chapter. If you read it. 13th, 15th, 12th is very interesting. And then you can go to Bhagavatam after that. With Gita foundation, you can go to Bhagavatam.
One more question for you, last one. When I heard from you in Vrindavan, you made a point, and you kind of slightly touched on it. You made a point. Swabhavam Vijayam Shauryam, you had said, or Viryam, I can't, maybe I'm quoting it wrong.
How do you remember that? So many
It
years.
struck me.
Amazing. That's exactly the same phrase used in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam by
Yes.
Lord Krishna to Uddhava.
Yeah.
Swabhava Vijaya Shaurya.
Yeah, and it just struck me a lot. And at the same time, Prabhu, you see, like, there's so many people who are giving classes on accept yourself for who you are, and even devotees will give talks like that. You are who you are. Like, so much going into who you are and exploring your nature and this and that. But then you made that point, Sabhavam, Vijayam, Shaurya. So, what is the understanding? And I've heard from my Sujay Prabhu say that if you keep going on books year after year, it will change who you are. Your nature will change. Then you also hear so many contradictions. Like, you also hear, like, you have devotee schools, like in gurukuls or something, will know by birth, like immediately they'll tell you your Kshatriya nature, this nature, that. So all these contradictions.
I will,
but how do you?
I answer your question. See, somebody is a Kshatriya, for example. That means somebody is, we call as 4 examples to give. Teachers, administrators, traders, artisans. These are 4 swabhava or nature. You cannot, this is called Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. That's called teachers, administrators, traders, and artisans. These 4 people's profession will not be changed. When I say swabhava, vijayam, shaurya means they should change their lower nature. For example, let us take one example. A king. A king has some positive natures like Shauryam Tejo Dhritirdakshyam Yuddhe Chapi Palayanam Dhanam Ishvara Bhavascha Kshatra Karma Svabhajam. This is a verse. So he says Shauryam means chivalrousness in battle. Tejo means he can influence people. Charisma. Dhriti, it's a determination. Dakshyam, shrewdness and expertise. Yuddhe Chapi Palayanam, he will never run away from the battle. He will lay down his life, but he will not run away from the battle. That means courage. Dhanam is generosity. And Ishvara Bhavam means leadership quality. These are all called as the qualities of an administrator or a king. Now a king has certain lower natures, I tell you. As soon as he occupies the post, there is a saying in English, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, it is said. So when one becomes a king, he has a tendency to become madly attracted to women, wine, such kinds of things. That is lower, bad habits. That's one thing. Another thing, when one occupies a big position as a king, then one may want to boss over others, unnecessarily dominate others. Actually, a king or a leader should facilitate the subordinates by providing them the resources of God for enhancing their consciousness of God. That is the duty. But he thinks that because I am the holder of resources, I can be of nuisance value to these people. Unless they obey me, I may not give, and things like that. He may boss over people, dominate over people. So these are the lower natures which you can conquer.
Which you can what?
Conquer.
Wow.
Yeah, and that is the meaning of Svabhava Vijayam Shaurya.
So if there's like 5 Pandavas, they're all Kshatriyas.
Correct.
Bhim is hot-headed.
Correct.
Some of us might be like that, and then there's like Maharaj Yudhishthira has a different nature. Everyone said, so
You
even
don't
within the
have to change-
Kshatriya, you see.
You don't have to change that nature, you dovetail that nature.
So that verse is referring to being a Kshatriya, not that other nature.
Like for example, Brahmana, see Vidyam Vivadaya, it is said. A Brahmana has a tendency to do debate or arguments, but he has to make sure that he doesn't waste time in useless arguments. Similarly, Dhanam Madaya, a Vaishya has a tendency to become proud of his wealth. So therefore he should give charity and not become proud of his wealth. Shakti Paresham Paripedanaya, it is said. A Kshatriya, because he has strength, like a Kshatriya should protect some weakling by his strength and not lord over the weakling or boss over the weaklings. Yes, weaklings are weaklings, but he should not try to exploit them. If he exploits, that is his lower nature. And the world has seen such kings, who have taken undue advantage of their position. There was one king, Edward XIV, I think, in the England. You would see that. So he actually was supposed to occupy the royal position, but he was involved with one society woman. So the ministers, they all gathered and told him, see, you have two choices. Either you give up this promiscuous behavior, then you can be the king. Or if you cannot give up, we will substitute you with another king. So he said, I cannot give up, he said. Then they put another king came in his place. But later on he lamented for this. Because why they didn't want him there? Because somebody cannot be a king and be doing wrong things, erratic things. Because then Caesar's wife must be above suspicion, it is said, no? So therefore the king is expected to represent God. So here he has to clear up his lower natures. Like even all of us as devotees, we in our life, we have a bright side and a dark side. So we only will present the bright side to others generally. But we all have to work on the darker side, which is our person says, I'm an angry man, for example. I have to work on my anger. That is not natural. In my healthy state, I shouldn't exhibit unnecessary anger. Similarly, possessing is all right, but to become greedy is not good. So those lower natures, if one is able to clear, that is the meaning of Svabhava Vijayam Sharyam. Is that all right? You know Rahugana?
Yes.
And initially he insulted Jadabharata.
Yes.
He did. But later on, when he heard knowledge, he got off from the palanquin and then he gave up his lower nature. That means he conquered his lower nature.
Thank you.
Arjuna was a Kshatriya.
Yeah.
He was supposed to fight in the battle.
Yeah.
But he was cowardly. Is cowardly suited for a Kshatriya? No. So he heard Krishna, then he gave up his cowardice. That means conquered his lower nature.
So when the devotees are interacting with each other and having conflicts, it's because we haven't worked on our lower nature.
Correct.
So we can't
Actually, conflicts are good, provided we do it in a respectful environment. We have mutual respect for each other. Then conflicts are not a bad idea. It may actually, it can become a hotbed of creative ideas. Sometimes the combination of two devotees, conflict can come up with a third powerful idea. Quite possible, correct? No? As long as they are respectful to each other. We should respect others' opinion. We should be willing to listen to others' opinion and should not be reserved about it. Then it's possible. Thanks. Yeah.
Your personification of discipline. We heard Prabhu has not missed Mangalarati in 30 years.
Actually, that's my favorite program in the morning. That is such a wonderful. Imagine if somebody is saying he never misses Gulab Jamun, if you say, who will want to miss such a nice sweet? So morning program is a very relishable program. Early morning is very conducive for swift progress in spiritual life. So I find it very naturally appealing, morning program. Yeah.
So what advice, like aspiring new devotees and struggling devotees, so what advice you would give us, or how did it become natural for you, or is it a work or?
Yeah, I can say something about that. You see, there is a flood, there is a dam. So what is the difference between flood and dam? Which is constructive, which is destructive?
Dam is constructive.
Dam is constructive. Because the dam, you can store the water and release it as per your need. Whereas flood, does it do any good? It doesn't do any good. Actually, flood destroys the cattle. It carries away, it breaks down the houses and everything. Flood cannot do good. So similarly, you will find in our mind, there are some negative forces which drain our energy. One doctor says, when you become extremely angry, it's equivalent to running 5 miles distance. He says like that. So much energy is dissipated by an angry person like that. Similarly, greed, lust, anger, these are all negative agents which drain our energy like this. But early morning time is a very good time when we can conserve our energies and make our mind like a dam rather than let the mind be like a flood. And if we don't put restraint in the mind and discipline the mind, then the mind will become like a mad elephant. See, I have videos of a mad elephant and a good elephant. A mad elephant can lift a scooter and throw up in the sky, you know that? I have a video of that, yeah.
YouTube.
Actually, YouTube you can get that. Also the mad elephant sometimes crushes the whole van also with 2 hands like that. Very dangerous it is. But the same elephant, if you train it, in India, the elephant even gives blessings also on the head. You'll see like that. Children go near the elephant, they touch the trunk, gives blessings. You can see that. Also, some elephants, they lift the children and keep on the back and walk and all. You will see that. I have a video of elephant drawing elephant. They are training elephant to do drawing of elephant, which requires creativity. Very patiently drawing the whole elephant very beautifully. So why I am telling you all this? Elephant is a trainable animal. Similar, mind is also a trainable entity. And the best time to train the mind is morning. Morning is the best time. Because the morning, our mind is like a wax. You can plant good suggestions to the mind. Like if you have a wet cement, and if you make some impression with a shoe, that will be formed there. You will see that. When you put water, it will always go and stay there. Correct? You will see that. Similarly, the impressions are possible to be made in a cement only when it is wet, not when it is dry. When dry, you cannot do anything. So early morning, our mind is, very easy to accept positive suggestions. So when you're chanting early in the morning, we are actually, it's a golden opportunity for us to strengthen our personality very, very powerfully. And over a period of time, even we have seen that 4 a.m. if you rise and get ready by 4:30. So the 4:30 to 8 o'clock or 8:30, the program that we do in the morning time, that is like energy booster, we can say, for the whole day. And you can be fresh for the entire day. You will not get tired at all. On the other hand, people who sleep at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, again they get up in the morning at 8 o'clock, still they appear very drowsy. In the day also, the afternoon they sleep another 4 more hours. You'll find like that. So this discipline of rising. One more example I'll tell you. At the time of our birth, we all have heard that some children have genetic disorders. Those genetic disorders, as you grow in age, they become certain psychological complication for some people. Whereas in the early morning Brahma Muhurta time or the early morning time when you are chanting, and so it is a very good time to heal those genetic disorders. Also, I have evidence for that. Doctors have found out that. Early morning time is a very, very suitable time for meditation purposes. And there is a scientific reason for that. Once I had gone to a place called Alibag near Pune. There is an ocean there. So we were having a brahmachari retreat. So we were sitting and watching in the early morning we saw the ocean was actually throwing out slag. Slag means the dirty things. The waves of ocean are bringing and it was throwing outside. And those dirty things are coming to the extreme end of the shore. In the morning time we saw that. And then in the daytime, 12 o'clock, we went there to see the ocean. It was hot. We saw that the waves are going up and down with all the dirty things, and they are not able to release the dirt, in the daytime. Which means morning is sattva, daytime is raja, night is tama, we call it. So, goodness, early morning is goodness, and daytime is passion, and night time is ignorance. That means the early morning hours when the ocean is releasing dirt. Similarly, our mind also has the ability to release unwanted negativities. The early morning can throw out. The early morning is the best time. Veda Prabhu is teaching all of you that chitta cleansing, I heard. You can ask him, he can tell you from experience also. Early morning cleansing is faster, right? Than the daytime. Because the daytime our mind becomes preoccupied with various anxieties and worries. Even the smartphones are more active in the daytime, not in the early morning. Therefore, the brains of the people are asleep in the morning, most people. So, we have seen even cars also, the traffic is also very less in the morning. So, nobody is interfering with your meditation in the morning time. In the daytime we do meditation, so many global gossip is going on, so we get disturbed in the daytime. So the discipline, we understand the benefits of the discipline, then we will stick to the discipline. If you know that I will reap these benefits rising in the morning. And also I have a video I can share with the Prabhu that why the top-notch CEOs like Apple, Amazon, and Meta and all these CEOs is showing pictures also. They rise at 4 a.m. This video shows that. It's
Can you not wake up a little earlier than?
Huh?
Can they wake up earlier than?
Earlier is very good. I get up at 3. If I sleep at 9, I get up at 3. That's very good. It's even more good. But I am saying in case they are afraid of waking up in the morning, at 4, please say. So that video shows that between 10 and 2 a.m., if you don't sleep, you are actually cutting on your health. That video shows that. 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., lot of chemicals secrete in your body. You will also see that your breathing increases, and you will see that if you keep the night time when you sleep, you will see after 10 o'clock the body, actually our external body was very active during the day. And the morning, in the night time when you lie down, then internal part of the body becomes active. But if you don't lie down, then you are actually cutting on your health. I can show that video. I will send an email to you. You can, it's a link actually. You can share with them also. Yeah.
I have a question. I think you didn't get a chance to ask questions. Do you have any questions? Everyone got 1 or 2 questions. Some people got more. Are you good?
I asked something about how we can sort of get over the false ego, the pangs of the false ego.
Okay. So there is a formula given for this. If you see somebody superior to you, you be jolly to welcome them. If you see somebody equal to you, you befriend them. And if you see somebody inferior to you, you be compassionate to them. On the contrary, in this world it is seen that if somebody is superior to me, instead of being jolly to welcome them, we may feel envious of them. Or somebody is equal to me, I may brag about my greatness rather than wanting to hear from them. And if somebody is inferior to me, I may ridicule them, mock at them rather than being compassionate to them. So if you learn these 3 qualities, the scriptures say that you can be completely free from any type of interpersonal clash. Now, 3 more things I will tell you, which can help you collaborate with others, interact with others in a very smooth manner. First one is, we should make an effort to take our mind away from our own needs, interests, concerns and expectations. Rather, think about the person with whom I am collaborating. Think about his needs, his interests, his concerns and expectations. That is the first thing. Giving up selfishness or extending selflessness. Second thing, we should respect others' opinions and appreciate others' abilities. Then you can really collaborate very well, whether in business or in family relationships. If you respect others' opinions and appreciate others' abilities. So anybody will want to collaborate with you. They will say, wow, he hears me and also he is appreciating my talent, whatever I have, God-gifted talent I have, he is appreciating. So they will want to collaborate with me. The third principle is called the principle of non-interference, which means we should respect that every individual has a circle of privacy into which we don't intrude. Just like one day I was sitting in a Innova car, behind. In front of me, the fellow seat, he pushed the seat behind and he bent the seat so much on my face. I was suffocating. I said, hey, come on, make the seat straight and go a little bit in the front. Give me some breathing space. So he was taking away my physical breathing space. Similarly, sometimes we take away people's emotional breathing space. Sometimes. But too much, even if one is a husband-wife also, husband and wife also should respect each other's, want for some amount of freedom also. Like for example, one husband was telling in India to wife, whatever serials I am watching in TV, you also have to watch it because you are my wife. He was telling. So she said, oh really? Okay, now I am going to chant Hare Krishna, you also come and chant. He said, oh, that I cannot do, he was telling. Then she said, see, I am allowing you to not chant Hare Krishna, so you should allow me to not watch TV, she said. So that means just because one is a spouse doesn't mean we can intrude totally into everything as per our expectation. That means respecting others' need for some amount of freedom. Everybody has a circle for some amount of privacy. It should be respected, yeah. So these 3, if you follow, it's called as principle of selflessness, principle of respecting others' opinions and appreciating others' abilities, and thirdly, principle of non-interference. So these are not very difficult, provided we keep them in our mind. We try to implement them in our daily life. Then our connecting with others may be very rewarding. Because these are all universe. What I am telling you is all like true north. You can ask anybody with these principles. Anybody will be happy with it if you do this. Because we see in the scriptures, great personalities have done. There was one very great leader called Rama. So this personality had many subordinate monkeys in his army. And he was not taking decision on his own. He first asked them, what is your opinion? After hearing dozen of them, and they all asked him, sir, you are the leader of our team. What is your opinion? And he told them, okay, if you all want to know, I can tell you. Yes, we want to know, they said. Then he spelled out. Then all of them applauded and accepted it. But imagine if somebody is a boss, he tells his subordinates, you are all not so smart, you can't think yourself properly, you are all muffs. And I have figured out the idea, I just tell you, you just follow. Will they follow? They will definitely cooperate together to make sure that idea fails. Because you have not heard us, you have not respected our intelligence, they will say. Therefore, what we are talking here is all universal laws. Following this, our relationships with others can be very rewarding. So, does it answer your question? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I think time is running low, so we want to have one last question. I didn't get to ask a question. I want to take this opportunity. So, my question to you is, we live in an age where technology is advancing very fast. And I know that you don't have a cell phone because I can't call you when I want to. And I know my speculation is that I'll be wasting a lot of your time if I were to call you. So, and yet at the same time you have tremendous amount of reach in the world. And you seem to have a very interesting balance with technology and
I check my mails 20 times a day.
20 times. Yeah. But he doesn't have a phone. And he is managing thousands of engineers. So my question to you would be, what is the balance? Is there even a need for it? And especially now that we're doing the monk mode, does it have a role in it?
Definitely. It definitely has a role. Actually, say the technology should be your servant. You don't become technology servant.
Easy to serve. It's very easy to serve.
No, actually it is easy to practice also. I'll tell you how. For example, in the YouTube, there are so many rubbish videos, obnoxious videos and everything. So in our temple monastery, we have parental control, which everybody unanimously have agreed that we all are ready to have parental control in our computer. We are ready to have parental control in our smartphone also. Parental control. Why? Because then you keep your devices clean. So you don't waste your time in rubbish things or useless things or frivolous things. That's one thing. And the second thing, till morning 9:30 in our temple, except the manager, you will not be able to get anybody by calling. If you call, nobody will lift it because they keep their smartphones inside their locker and lock and go to morning program. From 4:30 to 9:30, nobody will lift the phone. We have only one or two managers who, if you call, they will lift. All others, nobody keeps their phone. Because meditation is a very serious business and you should completely absorb yourself. And once you have done that well, you get a command over your mind and senses. The morning program is done well. Then at 9:30, when they open the locker and take the smartphone, then they will know how not to become a slave of the smartphone. Correct? And also, some of them have a timing. They tell the people, see, they make a list of all the database of people in their custody. And they tell them that I am available in the morning 2 hours, between 9:30 to 11:30 I am available. Then in the Evening you will get me between 3:30 to 5:30. And in between don't call. I have many other engagements, they say like that. So they have fixed timings and that is known to that people. And anybody else calls them, you will find a missed call and they will call back later. So they have timings of the day in which only they use the phone. They don't carry it all the time and they don't use it for everything. They don't do that. They don't waste time in like Facebook and Twitter and WhatsApp and all these things. Everybody, they don't use these applications. And they have their working boys in the college or company. Through them only they do these things. Because those who are monks in the ashramites, they are actually planning to dive deep into spirituality. So they have always the assistants through whom they get it done. Like for example, I have to send to 1,000 people invitation to make a poster. I have to send it through Facebook or something like that. Those things are done by people living outside. They do that. So they make the basic ground thing and then they send it to them and then through them they get it done. So in this way we can keep our sanctity. These are some of the ways we are adopting. Some of the monks in the ashram, they are very desperate to use it for a long time because their whole natures are, they have been using it. So they find it a little struggle to give it up. They have a tendency to expand their mobile time. When we find somebody doing that. So this is one new thing I have done now. I have told all the monks that nobody will have WhatsApp in the mobile. You will have WhatsApp in the computer only. It's the same, there is no difference. Having a computer, having a mobile is the same, but there's an advantage in having it in computer. What is it? Computer is always closed and sleeping, so beep sound won't come. In your japa time, it cannot be beep sound. So later on, after the morning program, 10 o'clock, you open the computer, then you will see all the WhatsApp and you will reply like that. Of course, the daytime beep sound will come because your computer is on. But the morning program is saved, correct? No? But if you imagine I have a smartphone, beep, sound comes. Immediately curiosity comes. I just want to see who has sent it. I will not talk. And you see the person's name. Why is he calling in the morning? He's sending. Let me just quickly see the message, what it is. And then you see the message. Oh, like this. I'll just make a 2-minute call and then become 20 minutes call. And that is how people get cheated by the devices. Therefore, I told everybody, some people are really angry with me for this. There's no, this is so convenient, you don't understand, you don't use it, you don't want us to know, everybody is fighting. I said, see, monk's life is not an ordinary life. You are supposed to be a carrier of inspiration. It's a serious business. I told them that we are not depriving you of technology. One more thing I'll tell you. We have a lab where we have 5-6 computers. In that, all YouTube is open available. Anybody can come and see any lectures, anything they want. But because it's an open place, they can't open any obscene things and that. There, everybody will be watching there. There, I have given full, there is no parental control there. Everything is open there. It's a public place. So like this, if you want, I can send you our policies, I can share with you.
Beautiful.
And you can implement whichever one you feel will work in the best. Yeah.
Another follow-up question. Especially with this world now, technology is a very strong companion.
Correct.
With everyone. It's a must.
Must, yeah, that's true, yeah.
It's a must. Is it really mandatory? Is it really needed to have such stringent relationship with technology? Why can't we have more symbiotic, more not antagonistic relationship with technology? Is that possible?
Yeah. Actually, the person who is sense controlled, for him technology is never a threat. A person is controlled in his mind and senses. He knows when to use and when not to use. Like we have fire, for example. In the kitchen we use fire to cook. But we don't allow the fire to burn us down. We know how to control the fire, gas, how much to open and everything. So in the same manner, I feel that it can be those who can carefully use it can use it. Somebody is electricity also. If a fuse goes off, I should exactly know how to set the fuse properly. If I don't know, I put my finger, I'll get a shock. So those who can use it well, can use it well. Somebody cannot use it well, then they need to be restrained. That's why restriction. And also, I can tell you that we can do away with technology completely also, it's possible. I'll tell you, when the technology comes into picture, I'll tell you, when you want to approach a large mass of people by mail outs and then only the technology comes into the picture. Otherwise, for example, now I go to Srila Mayapur, I do a yoga, I do a program for the youths, that 800 youths are coming, 700 to 800 youths, the big Prabhupada Samadhi and the big holiday. So when we do such kind of programs, I am not involved anywhere in the calling of the boys, Google sheet making, or checking the attendance. None of it I am involved. So the more we become senior, our involvement with technology can be reduced. That's it. And also as we become senior, we also have to have a very rich inner reserve for us to offer others. At that time, if I am meddling with technology too much, then I get drained out also. So we should get it all done from younger ones, who are also enthusiastic for doing it. Yeah.
Okay, any final thoughts? Any reflections? I think his time is up because we have to get prepared for our evening wind down before the Mangalarti.
Yeah.
So what was your takeaway, Caleb, from this discussion? Your one sentence takeaway, which you extracted from this.
Moment of forgetfulness is like a sentence to billions of lifetimes of pain and suffering. So don't forget no more.
Yeah.
Okay. Key, what is your takeaway?
We covered so many things.
Well, you can take as many as you want. Just one.
I feel I'm on the right path with. I work in IT, right? So the way I use my computer is very weird to most of them. Like my computer and my phone, I have very segmented, and I use this for this, and I don't want all these notifications here. And so hearing you talk, it makes me feel more like, oh, this makes sense. There's a reason why I'm doing this.
Take shelter of the morning program. And,
Other than Mangalarti.
yeah, I was thinking about it.
She's Mangalarti or she's next Mangalarti?
It's not, it should go. It's a take shelter of the morning program, and I just like what you said, it's not artificial intelligence, it's borrowed intelligence. So it's like a nutshell answer to anybody who's like,
Gopal Pran Prabhu, what is your takeaway?
I've been hearing Prabhuji for while I'm traveling, explanation about scientific, really distracts the person, and the way spiritual life can make a person so focused. It's been very wonderfully explained. I will carry that for some time.
Nice. Shastra Prabhu.
It's very humbling.
You can do a giveaway, you don't have to do a takeaway.
No, I mean, I'm really humbled that, I think I'm managing maybe 4 or 5 people and I have to be always on call. But then he's managing so many thousands and, he doesn't become the servant of the technology.
He doesn't have a phone. You want to talk to him, you have to harass Gopal Pran Prabhu, and then he will, distract him.
Actually, honestly speaking, I don't do the work managing 1,000 people because we have the system of, counselors we call. So one council takes 40 people. So we have about 120 counselors, So each of them take care of 40 people like that. And those counselors certainly want to connect with me. They write emails or they call me assistants, they call it. And because they are leaders, they need to be given inputs whenever they need some clarification and all. So with them I connect. So that makes life much easy for me. And this, my special master, Radhanath Maharaj started this in Bombay Chowpatty. And we also followed that system. So that makes it easy. It appears that I have 6,000 people, but I don't hands-on manage them. If I would do, my head would be spinning. if I would do. So through these leaders I do.
This is another level because remember Quran, he has a phone from dinosaur age.
Nobody has a phone just to hear a lecture. That's it. He uses it in the morning when he's going to take.
Prabhupada actually used that. I have button phone. Same one I also have.
Same phone.
I have like that 32 GB.
There is no SIM card in that. There is just a memory card just to hear the lecture.
Yeah, you have to order specially from Nokia.
Yeah.
It became obsolete 20 years ago. so good news. Narayani Devi, what's your takeaway?
I think that my takeaway is science is the long way to God.
Barbara?
And there were many. Thank you very much.
You can share two if you want. We'll give you room for three if you can.
I liked when you said morning meditation is serious business. You also said that the role of being, I don't remember your wording, but being a reservoir for inspiration is also serious business.
Correct.
And yeah, the morning program.
Yes, captured a very important point. Very good.
Amit Balaram Prabhu. You have one more Bala?
That's good.
That's good.
I feel Prabhu mentioned the balance, like maintain our balance in our life. Also,
So you have to eat less and weigh yourself on the scale.
there are many other points, but
Atma? That the morning is a very good time, the best time for advancement and to focus.
honestly speaking, I like the parental control thing that you talked about. I myself cannot control some of the things that I watch on technology. So maybe I should bring all my devices to you and you can put some parental control. Because I really want to progress in my...
We have a dumpster close by, you'll take it.
Because when you said about the parental control, that even the sannyasis or the devotee level, you are doing that, so that means, in order to progress for my life, I would love... See, there are some senses that I can control, but there are few things that I have struggled with, especially the woman side and that side of the stuff. The other senses, seeing, probably hearing bad things, like nose, but that touch and that sense, So that's why it's a good thing. When you spoke about that, that kind of connected with me.
Thank you. Nate Prabhu?
By
Can't see his face.
by practicing selflessness, we can overcome the false ego.
I think the internal symptoms of the human is what was the point I've been thinking about since the start, like the happiness, survival, and seeking knowledge. It's very important, like those 3 points. Like it's hard to, like my mind wants to find examples in technology that can beat bad symptoms. So I'm trying to find it. So it is a good, like 3 point.
The internal, the external symptoms of
Yeah.
the living body.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So I'm not sure if I got it correctly, but this resonated really well with me. Life is a mixture of happiness and sorrow, and we reluctantly choose suffering.
Reluctantly accept, not that we want suffering.
It's like we want happiness, but we still choose suffering. And then...
So we tolerate suffering. Given the opportunity that there will be only happiness, everybody will go for it. We all want only happiness.
Only happiness. And then also the ego, where treating people higher ups welcoming, being jolly, being compassionate. And yesterday also you spoke about Parotkarsha Saishnuta and Paramat Saishnuta. Those 2 points also you covered here. That also was very, very helpful.
Thank you.
So So thank you all so much for joining us for a little chat with Radheshyam. He will be here several more hours. And out of that, at 8 a.m., we'll have a morning class in the temple. So I leave that to you if you want some more association. I always encourage good association because so much can happen. So much good can happen, so much bad can happen. So, good association. And once you have people like him who's made a commitment to have good association, now he's giving good association. So let's take advantage. So any last thoughts, any announcements? Are we all good?
Can we take a group picture?